Hey everybody, I think we're live. We have so much to talk about. We had 4 Win and You're In races that point toward the Future Stars Friday card at the Breeders' Cup. But I do have to tell you, we have an element of drama today because usually, as many of you know, I have a 15-month-old, and usually her dad, Matt, takes her for a walk while I do these forecasts, and we're just here at home. But she fell asleep, and any parent out there knows that a kid needs their nap, especially a 15-month-old who's teething. So she's sleeping in the other room. Should she wake up, you might hear her. But again, best nanny in the world is the hubby, and he will take her outside and let her go play in the grass should that happen. Now, another thing, I'm taking it casual today, just sporting the Keeneland t-shirt because, hey, Keeneland opens this week. That's exciting. Unfortunately, I will not be there for Fall Stars. We do have Win and You're In action going on there. But I will be heading out to Keeneland week 3. So that should be fun because any trip to Keeneland's great. You've got great racing, burgoo, and bread pudding. So that's a winning combination right there. Now let's start talking about the races that happened this weekend. Bob Baffert and John Velasquez teamed up to take both Grade 1 Win and You're In Future Stars Friday races at Santa Anita, those being, of course, the Chandelier and the American Pharoah, which used to be the Front Runner Stakes. Won the Chandelier with Bast, and this was after she put in that 8 3/4 length romp in the Del Mar debutante. The pace was compromised early on because Lacothea broke from the gate, lost the jockey, Norberto Arroyo. Thankfully, he was okay. So the pace, they went 49-2 for the half. But it was nice to see another dimension to Bast because she really had to battle back against Comical. She got up just a neck over her at the end to win the race. And then with 8 Rings, he could not have won easier. I mean, he went the half in 47. And it was a really nice win. He won by over 6 lengths. 6 lengths exactly was the margin of victory for him there. And this was nice to see coming back off that really disappointing incident that happened in the Del Mar Futurity where he lost Drayden Van Dyke not long out of the gate. So it was nice to see that. Bast ended up getting an 81 Beyer, 8 Rings, and 87. Final times for both races. Bast finished the race in 146 and 10 100ths, and 8 Rings went 145 and 41 100ths. Now, let's talk about the fact that not only are both these horses trained by Bob Baffert, not only were both ridden by Johnny Velasquez, and both also were consigned by TaylorMade Sales. Should mention that because Bast, she was a $500,000 purchase at Fasig-Tipton August as a yearling, and 8 Rings also sold as a yearling for $520,000. That was at Keeneland September. Both of these horses, a man who was involved in scouting both of them, is somebody who's had a lot of success in the game being a bloodstock agent, and that is Donato Lani. And he was so nice. He took some time out of his day. He had just arrived in Maryland yesterday. There's no rest for the best, right? He's there for the sale. And he took time out because I reached out to him because we're always hearing from the trainers. We hear from jockeys, we hear from owners, but very rarely do we hear from the bloodstock agents involved with scouting these horses out. And I was just curious. I mean, when you have not one, but 2 juveniles win Grade 1 races on the same day, it's got to feel really good. So what was it about them that made these horses standouts, must-buys? And, it's really interesting because Donato told me he works these sales with Bob, and they just try not to overcomplicate things. They try not to overthink. The main things they're looking for are horses that look fast and athletic. And both Bast and 8 Rings had those qualities. Bast, he said, was, beautiful filling, really good mind on her. And, he credits good owners like Charlie and Susan Chu for entrusting him to, find the right horses because obviously they're not selling for just a little amount. I mean, again, she was a $500,000 purchase, so you're always hoping that you get that return on investment. And I asked him about what he thought of her performance, and he really liked the fact that she came off a win that was so easy, and that here she showed that she was willing to fight for it. It was very encouraging to see. Now, as far as 8 Rings goes, this ownership came thanks to Tom Ryan. He put together, of SF Racing, he put together an ownership group with Starlight Racing, Madaket Stables. You had Frederick Hertrich, John D. Fielding, and Golconda Stables. And, Donato was telling me about how Bob, you had Frankie Brothers. Frankie Brothers does a lot of the scouting for Starlight, but he was a great trainer himself. I mean, he trained Pulpit. You had Frankie. You also had another really, somebody with a keen eye there as well in Henry Field of Newgate. And they all really liked this horse and came together. And, obviously it's rewarding when you see that horse get to, Bob's barn. And, he says Bob really knows what he's looking at with these horses and when the time is right to debut. And, I've talked a lot about the fact that 8 Rings is by Empire Maker. And the thing you have to take in consideration with this is Empire Maker obviously is a super classy sire. I mean, he sired Pioneer of the Nile. Pioneer of the Nile sired American Pharaoh. But you also have to remember, Empire Maker himself, Grade 1 winner, won the Belmont. He debuted in late October of his 2-year-old season, and he debuted going a mile. So now here you have 8 Rings, his son, comes out 5.5 furlongs, and he wins by 6 1/4 lengths, and he gets a 94 buyer for the effort. You just don't think, sprint, 94 buyer when you're thinking Empire Maker, that early in the season. And, it's a testament to the fact that when you see a horse that goes beyond expectation, they're really, in my mind, going to be something special. And I've mentioned to you before that 8 Rings is out of the mare Purely Hot, and she's a daughter of Pure Prize. Pure Prize is by Stormcat, and out of Heavenly Prize. Heavenly Prize is another example. At 2 years old, she won her debut 6 furlongs. She won it by 9 lengths, and she goes on to be a Hall of Famer. So this is the type of ability I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, you get excited when you see that. And unfortunately, what happened in the Del Mar Futurity, Donato, of course, everybody, the main concern was, is everybody okay? And thank God they all were. But, it's a kick to the gut, he said. You're just like me, you want to see what's going to happen next with this horse. But he said he redeemed himself in the American Pharaoh. And, he told me at the end of the day, you have Bob, you have a great team, you do right, but that it's almost luck. Everything has to go right. The horses have to be right, have to eat, feel good, and that there's a million ways to lose a race, only one way to win. So, I love that he also spoke about the fact that there's no I in this industry, it's a we. This is all team effort. It's a team of people who come together. There's no ego, no agendas. It's all about the horse and the people who own the horse, and the horse comes first. I came away out of this conversation with Donato really feeling that as much success as he and his colleagues have had, and by the way, there's great camaraderie too, even with the connections of comical. He was getting text messages, boy, we scared you there for a minute, right? After the race. So there's great camaraderie between all these guys. But, also, as much success as they've all had, talking about Tom Ryan, talking about Donato, Bob, they still remain so humble about their outlook on having these great horses. They still know that, Donato said, you have everything going. You've got a great team. You've got, the best trainer, the best owners, the best horses, but you still cross your fingers and hope everything works out. So they're taking nothing for granted. There are no foregone conclusions as to what will happen next, and they marvel at their horses just like we do as the fans. So it's just refreshing. It was a very, very nice phone call, and we were also talking about the fact that with 8 Rings, going back to him and his performance, I was talking about the disparity between what the fillies ran for the half and what the colts ran for the half. And Donato said, yeah, they went fast, and he didn't know if it was going to be too fast, but that 8 Rings has gears. And later Johnny told him, he was able to slow things down, and Johnny told him that he had a lot of horse left at the end. So that's pretty exciting. And another thing is he's excited to see what these other horses are going to do. He said that there are a lot of nice horses on the East Coast. I mentioned Dennis's moment, and that it's exciting to see how they develop with experience, and that it's going to be a lot of fun. And it is. Looking ahead to Breeders' Cup, it's going to be a blast. And another key point that we'll see if Bob, he won the American Pharoah last year with Game Winner, who did go on to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So we'll see if 8 Rings can do the same in taking the TVG Juvenile. Now, moving on, this wasn't the only action we had going this weekend. Overseas, at Newmarket, Daahyeh, she did not disappoint for Roger Varian. Or the bettors, because she went off favorite. She punched her ticket to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, winning the Shadwell Rockfell. And she was just 3/4 of a length in her previous start to Love, who won the Moyglare Stud. And so now, and she'd already won the Albany Stakes, so already a stakes winner. But now Daahyeh is 3 for 5, and her only other loss was by a length and 3/4 to the highly regarded Raffle Prize. And if you don't follow the racing over there, I'll try to put this in perspective for you, because Raffle Prize, this filly beats Kamari, and I hope you know who Kamari is. Kamari is a Wesley Ward trainee. She blitzed the field by 15 lengths on debut at Keeneland, going, I think it was 5.5 furlongs on dirt. And so he took her over to Royal Ascot, Kamari, where she faced this Raffle Prize in the Group 2 Queen Mary Stakes. And again, Raffle Prize beat her by a head. And then later in the season, Raffle Prize went up against Earthlight in the Group 1 Prix Morny, and she came up short of him by a neck, all right? He is undefeated. He is 5 for 5, because just this weekend, Earthlight won the Group 1 Middle Park Stakes. So Raffle Prize, she is a very, very good filly, and Daahyeh was only a length and 3/4 short of her. So one to watch when she comes over for the Breeders' Cup. Now, I've already discussed her pedigree at length. Won't go over it again because we have so much more to talk about, but it's solid. Now, in the Juddmonte Royal Lodge, there was an upset. This is a win and you're in for the Juvenile Turf, and it was Royal Dornoch for O'Brien, Tabor, Smith, and Magner. He set a new juvenile course record of 135 and 13/100ths over the Rowley Mile. So that was pretty cool right there. He is a son of Glen Eagles. Glen Eagles was 2014's Cartier 2-year-old champion. And then he also went on to be a multiple Group 1 winner at 3. The other cool thing about Royal Dornoch's pedigree is he's a half-brother to a horse you might recognize because she ran here in the States, and that's Hawksmoor, Millionaire. She's since been retired, and I believe she's been bred to Kitten's Joy. If I'm wrong on that, somebody correct me, okay? So Royal Dornoch, he brings this upset. I do not know if he's actually going to come over for the Breeders' Cup. Daahyeh is. Roger Varian was hoping to get that win in your in ticket. But he, I believe, has been nominated to the Vertum Futurity at Doncaster, so I don't know if we will see him. But let's talk about another horse that ran this weekend and here in the States, and that is Structor. He won the Grade 3 Pilgrim Stakes at Belmont Park. He won it in 141 2/5. This was for Chad Brown, jockey Arad Ortiz Jr. And the mile 16th contest, this was his second win in 2 starts. He was an $850,000 OBS March purchase. And he had previously debuted at Saratoga, winning, obviously, because again, it's his second win in 2 starts. But that was a mile of 16th as well. So I reached out to Chad, and he confirmed that this horse is under consideration for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And as far as the pedigree goes, there are some credentials here because, first of all, he's a son of Palace Malice, multiple Grade 1 winner, won the Belmont, won the 2014 Met Mile. And this colt dam is a daughter of Grade 1 winner More Than Ready, and she's a full sister to 2010's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf winner More Than Real. So you've got the Breeders' Cup credentials right there. Another horse that Chad debuted, ran, in addition to Structor, was Princesa Caroline, and this was her debut, and she won impressively. It was a mile 16th as well on the turf. She scored by 3.5 lengths. Her time came back 141 and 3. Again, Structor won in 141 and 2. She got an 83 buyer for the effort. She's not pointing to the Breeders' Cup, but I had to mention her because she does have those Breeders' Cup ties. She's a daughter of American Pharaoh, who, after winning the Triple Crown, went on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. And then she's a half-sister to champion Lady Eli. Who can forget Lady Eli? She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf back in 2014. And then after battling laminitis, I mean, she nearly lost her life. She came back in 2016 to only lose by a nose to Queen's Trust in the filly and mare turf. So what heart on her. Now, I asked Chad, I said, did you know that she might win first out? And he told me, and this is a quote, that they liked her to run well, but she did exceed expectations, to be honest. She's a touch lazy in the AM, unlike Big Sis. But again, she's not going to be under Breeders' Cup consideration, and he won't know for a couple of weeks where she might run next. But still, it's nice to see a filly with that pedigree come out and look like a future star. A horse who is pointing toward the Breeders' Cup, more specifically the TVG Juvenile, is Chance It. He just won the mile of 16th in Reality Stakes. It's part of the Florida Sire Stakes series, of which he nearly swept. He was second in the middle leg to Liam's Lucky Charm. That was the Affirm Stakes. But Liam's Lucky Charm, he beat him this weekend in reality. Liam's Lucky Charm finished third. And Chance It won this race by 7 1/4 lengths under Tyler Gaffleone. This was for trainer Safi Joseph. Boy, he's been just having a great couple weeks here. And Shooting Star Thoroughbreds. The interesting thing is he earned a 78 buyer for this race, and he was coming in off 3 consecutive 91s. But as far as the pedigree goes, he's by Grade 1 winner Currency Swamp. He won the 2011 Hopeful Stakes. And then this colt dam is Vagabond Diva, and she's a daughter of 2003's Breeders' Cup Classic champ Pleasantly Perfect. Then in 2004, he went on to win the Dubai World Cup as well as the Pacific Classic. Some other black type in the pedigree. The dam is also a half-sister to multiple stakes winner Air of Distinction, and then their dam Clear Distinction is by Stormcat. And I've talked about Stormcat before. Grade 1 winner. He was second when he got nailed by Tasso by a nose in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And some other black type in the pedigree is the fact that this family also includes Sovereign champion 3-year-old fillies Kamar and Square Angel, as well as Grade 1 winners Love Smitten, Cuddles, Tap to Music. And Tap to Music is a half-sister to a couple of studs you may recognize in Northern Afleet and Act of Duty. So, very cool pedigree there. Now, over in Shanty, and this is recent news, Band Practice, who's a daughter of the late Society Rock. It's really unfortunate because he's been getting some nice runners, including Lee, who qualified for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, winning the Norfolk Stakes at Royal Ascot. Society Rock, he's a son of Rocket Gibraltar, who we discussed before, had that 7 Group 1 winning racing streak, which came to an end when Dome Driver caught him. He came up short of Dome Driver because he had a bad start in the Breeders' Cup Mile. But, Society Rock, it looks like he would have been a really nice sire, but sadly he passed away due to laminitis before his progeny even started running. But in addition to Lee that I just mentioned, he is also the sire of this filly in Band Practice. She won the 5-furlong Criterium de Vitesse, which is open to males and females. This was for Archie Watson and jockey Oisin Murphy. And Oisin Murphy was talking to the press afterward and said that they'd really like to bring this filly over to the Breeders' Cup. He did not specify the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, but I have to imagine that's the target because all of her races the last 3 of which have been victories, have been sprinting at 5 furlongs, which is the same distance as the $1 million contest. So that's band practice. Now, one more juvenile I must talk about is this freak, because at least I think she's going to be, that Simon Callahan unleashed this weekend. Donna Veloce. That name means fast woman, and boy, did she prove aptly named. She came out in this maiden special weight race, going 6.5 furlongs. She decimated the field, basically wired them 9.5 lengths. This is at first asking, and she got a 91 buyer for the effort. That ties Fair Maiden and Lacothea for the highest 2-year-old filly buyer of this season. So, I mean, right there. And then she's also got a ton of BC Ped cred. Check this out. Like Bast, she's a daughter of 2010's Eclipse champion 2-year-old Uncle Mo, who also won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Then her dam is by Montjou. Montjou is 1999's Carte 3-year-old champion. He won the Arc. But that same year, this filly's second dam, her grandmother, Cash Run, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Not only that, but Cash Run herself is a half-sister to Forestry, who that same year, 1999, finished 4th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We have more to talk about, because Cash Run's sire, Seeking the Gold, second to Ali Sheba in the 1988 Breeders' Cup Classic, and this filly's great-grandmother shared interest, Grade 1 winner. I believe she won the Ruffian. She's a half-sister to Grade 1 winner Sue Wickley, and Sue Wickley was 5th in the 1989 Breeders' Cup Sprint. So there's just so much purple running through this filly's veins already. And this is kind of fun to note also, because this is the female family that traces to Miss Dogwood and Frazette. It's the female family of one of the most influential sires of all time, Mr. Prospector. So with all this, the performance, the pedigree, I was like, oh my gosh, Simon. So I sent him a message. I'm like, are you considering the Breeders' Cup for this filly? And at first he said, yes, it's under consideration. And then the following, I came back with, oh, well, yes, I mean, her pedigree is just exceptional. It'd be great if she came. And then he responded the next day, yes, that they are. So this is an exciting prospect. Again, her name is Donna Veloce. All right. So anyway, I hope you're having a great day. It's our weekend, right? This has been your Future Stars Friday forecast on Monday. I will see you back here on Thursday.